Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And I'm Navid Mashinshi.
And it's getting hot in here. Let's take off all our clothes. I believe that's what the song is. Oh, Zach started already. Man, it has been hot. It has been smoky. I tell you what, I wish the Whitecaps were on as hot a streak as we're having in BC with the weather. But we decided to stay fully clothed for this episode. Most of us. Just glancing down at my wife just now. But anyway, the game against San Jose, another battling point on the road, and we'll be turning our attention to the Canadians women's national team as well. It's a shorter show. I'm confident of that in saying that this week. I think we'll definitely be under 2 hours. But yeah, before we get into all that though, gonna kick things off the way we kick off all our weekend shows, the gift that keeps on giving, Steve Pander's Christmas gift to Zach and myself. It was a box, if you don't know, of the 2011 MLS Upper Deck trading cards. Zach and me are opening a pack a week which will take us through the whole season, putting together our best teams and then just seeing what we come up with. So we'll rattle through this so it doesn't go on too long for this episode, but let's get our packs open.
I'll go first, Michael.
Excellent.
I want you guys to guess, okay? I have a player who in 2010 played in 28 matches, scoring 18 goals with 1 assist. And I gave you a hint before we started.
Wando.
Chris Wondolowski.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
This pack. If I had this pack earlier, because I got another guy from your team, Michael. I think.
Oh, I'm just actually quickly flicking through mine. I've got a mixed pack, I've got to say. So first up, I've got from DC United. He's a midfielder, BB himself, Branko Boskovic.
Oh, I got him like last week, I think. I have a guy whose new book I haven't read yet. It's penned or co-written by Brendan Dunlop.
Oh, yes.
Dwayne Di Rosario.
Yeah. Of course, I have his jersey from our cards.
Yeah, he's still in your team, right?
I think he is, yes. I'd have to double check that. I've got a legend.
Oh, my goodness.
More from afterwards than maybe during his playing career. I don't know, maybe he was a legend during his playing career. I just know him from the stuff he's doing since. In a Kansas City Wiz jersey, but it's a Chivas card, it's defender Jimmy Conrad.
Oh, he's in my starting 11 still. My prolific, beastly strikers continues with the Washington Freedoms, Abby Wambach.
Ooh. So I pity that's not a rookie card, because that might have been worth a bit with Alex Morgan's. I've got a forward from New England Revolution, Kenny Long Tall Man Sally.
Oh, yeah. I think I have him. I don't have this guy, but I think you do. It's midfielder from the Columbus Crew, Danny O'Rourke.
Oh, good old Danny. Cousin of our location. I don't remember this guy at all. He's a goalkeeper from New York Red Bulls, Buna Kundul.
Yeah, he's a goalie. I have that for Deadpool, yeah. Michael, I either this is my first double or I don't have him, but you just got him. Kenny Mansally from New England Revolution.
Oh, wow. I don't think we've both had the same player in a pack.
No.
I've got a midfielder from Columbus Crew that, again, I'm not that familiar with. Double E this time. Emmanuel Ekpo.
Oh, I got him. Michael, I have someone who you got either last week or the week before. It's an MLS Super Draft card. It's someone we all had extremely high hopes for. Omar Salgado.
Oh,
Whatever happened to him?
What a pack.
Actually, whatever happened to him?
where is he right now?
Well, he's playing at El Paso, but then he was going to school or something. I think he might have just retired.
Retired? Wow.
Oh,
I got five out of 6 cards were strikers in my pack, and 4 of those 5 were people we know well.
Well, just as I look up what Omar Salgado is doing here, my last card is from LA Galaxy, and it's a name I do know, midfielder, Michael Stevens.
Oh, yeah, I got that guy too. What a great name, eh?
Like Omar Salgado is 27. So if he has called it a day,
I think he
that
did
would
retire.
be...
I'm pretty sure
Oh,
he did.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
2020 El Paso Locomotive was his last team.
Crazy if you think about it. Nakby got drafted before him, and
Doesn't actually
Yeah.
say on his Wikipedia page that he's retired, but
I think he did. Just confirm all those cards were new for me. I don't have Kenny,
wow, it's amazing. You've got no
Yeah.
doubles at all.
but I got who's on your team? Dero and Wando. I got to put I have a Michael's team page on my book. I got to put them on.
Let me dig that out. Okay, so my team at the moment is goalkeeper Nick Romando. My back 4, Zarek Valentin, Omer Gonzalez, Marvel Wynn, Leo Gonzalez. Midfield of Dwayne Di Rosario, Jeff Larentovich, and Roger Espinoza. And a front 3 of Wando, Kai Kamara, and Landon Donovan.
Sorry, did you take out Rodney Wallace?
I don't think I ever had him in.
Oh, I have him on here.
Or maybe I did at one point.
you had him at one
Who
point. I
actually,
remember.
Rodney Wallace, who is signing a one-day contract with Portland Timbers this weekend so that he can retire a Timber, doing that at the Cascadia Derby match on Sunday. Actually, before we get into talking about Whitecaps, let's talk about that. The Cascadia Cup is a go this season, Zach.
I saw that.
Now that the fans are back and Vancouver is back in Vancouver, that's fantastic news.
It is. It was good too that they put in the caveats that this only happens if there's actually fans and stands and all that kind of stuff. So if something happens, due to restrictions or whatever, it will change again. But it's
the
really
way things are going here, that is very, very possible. Obviously, down in the States and the Vid where you are, anything goes. So they'll be cramming the fans in. As Marc Dos Santos said after the game when I asked him about Austin coming up on Wednesday, he's like, yeah, if they could put 90,000 in that stadium, I'm sure they would cram them in. And yes, they probably would. But let's get talking about the Whitecaps now. The Whitecaps headed into this one, unbeaten in 5. San Jose headed into this one, unbeaten in 7. Both teams, though, a lot of draws in that unbeaten run. 5 for San Jose, 4 for the Whitecaps. And I think you could probably put money that it was going to be another draw tonight. I don't know if folk would have had it down as 0-0, but that's how it finished. It was no score at PayPal Park, as it is now known. That's a nice tongue twister. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper at PayPal Park. But we'll just go around and get your quick overall thoughts. We'll start with Naveed, since you haven't had a chance to chat too much on the show tonight. You were going to go through for the game, but wisely decided not to, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I don't regret that. That's for sure. So I'm kind of glad I didn't make my way down to San Jose. 2.5 hours drive from Sacramento. But watching it, I mean, the fact that I feel like they really put in a shift, and that's all you can ask for. I mean, if you would tell me before the game, take a draw away from home, I would take it.
Yeah.
And I mean, San Jose coming off from a win against LAFC, I was expecting more from them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've struggled in some of the games, but they came into this on the back of a couple of really strong results.
Right.
And a win in Seattle. But
Exactly.
I mean, credit to the Whitecaps. They negated anything that they threw at them, and there was some folk I saw saying that it was a boring game and it was a snooze fest. The first half went according to plan. It was the game plan, but I thought on the whole it wasn't a bad game.
Not
There
at
was
all.
some end-to-end stuff, and especially from the hour mark, the last half hour, I thought it was quite an entertaining match.
I'm usually pretty down on MLS and the quality of football, but I think anyone who calls that match a boring match is I don't know that they're really into, like, I don't think they're really into or understand football.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I watched the kickoff to 3 leagues today, two the whole match and one part of the match, and I wasn't as disappointed as I thought I might be watching an MLS match in the evening, as I have been on other occasions. And I thought it was a really interesting game. I thought the tactical approach from both sides were interesting. The chess match that played it on the field, I thought was engaging. I don't like to use the word entertaining, but I think for those who like to see the game that way, I think it was an entertaining game if you were actually watching it.
Yeah.
Just because there wasn't goals or
that's the thing here, though. It's like, oh, it's got to be goals, otherwise it's a boring game. That's not the case at all.
No, it was some really, to me, it was an engaging match. It was some really interesting football, and some really encouraging. If you're a Whitecap fan or supporter or follower, some really encouraging signs. Maybe the same for San Jose, or maybe like I think Naveed just said, a little bit disappointing, especially being at home. But yeah.
And after all that said, it wasn't worth driving 2.5 hours for, though.
Yeah.
So it was a good decision by Naveed not to do that.
Well, it's just basically, I think that it's something that they needed to do, considering all the injuries they were dealing with. Essentially, if you look at their lineup, they had basically 5 starters in the lineup, and 3 of them were defenders and goalies, and 1 of them was a holding midfielder. So really, they only had 1 attacking player that's a normal regular.
Yeah.
So it's essentially what they needed to do. They need to get to the 60th minute and see if they could pull something off, steal something. And I think they were effective in doing that. Basically, the San Jose crowd was barely into this game at all.
Yeah,
unless
it was quite a flat atmosphere there.
Yeah, so it's exactly mission accomplished there, that they made the game boring enough and that they could enjoy it and they couldn't get the crowd behind it. Players couldn't get that boost from the crowd. So I thought they did it perfectly well.
Let's kick things off by looking at the lineup from Vancouver. Now, there was enforced changes and guys that just weren't good to go for the whole game, and we'll start with the big one defensively. Eric Godoy out again. He's got a calf strain. I believe he travelled because they were wanting to see just how it was, but obviously he just wasn't good to go. I don't know if they possibly bought him via PayPal. They might have PayPal purchase protection. More peas. They like their peas. But it's concerning, Naveed. He's such a good player. He's so crucial to this Whitecaps backline, but you need him to be on the park. You need him to be playing.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's the leader of the back line. I mean, he is. I hope it's not going to take too long, because I mean, you definitely need him for the home stretch, for the games, the 9 home games. Yeah, let's fingers crossed it's not going to be as bad.
Do you have concerns, Steve, about his health going forward, or?
It's concerning because it keeps happening. You're wondering what's going on, and so essentially, in one point, it's not overly concerning, especially if they get the attacking players out there, because they finally have some attack in there. And I think they can work with Ranko, and luckily they got Florian in there now. So I think I don't think it's as concerning, because they do have some backup, and especially if they have that solid midfield now with Gall there, if Alexandre kind of gets back into form. So it's not as concerning as it normally would be.
Zach, get your thoughts on Godoy, but were you surprised as well that Florian didn't get the run out against his old side? And they went with Andy Rose at the back, which, fair credit, like him and Ranko had a great partnership tonight.
Yeah, it did a little bit of once. I thought for sure he was going to come on, and it was only because I think Brown needed to be subbed at the end of the game that he didn't come on. I think he was in contention to be one of those last. To be the last substitute. But when Brown went down, that was Bruno's turn to come in. In terms of him not starting, no, because I think starting at center back in this game, I think would have been too quick. Not enough time with the people around him. But I did expect him to see him at some point in the game, so I think it was a little bit disappointing. And he's probably a little bit disappointed he didn't get in.
Yeah, chance to say bye to the home fans as well.
Yeah, in terms of Godoy, I agree with you all. It's concerning, and I guess we'll see how long he's out for and how long it lasts. But this is he's been very unfortunate in his time in Vancouver with injuries, and you just hope that it doesn't keep him out long because, like I think David said, he is really like a leader or the leader back there.
So let's talk about the other big omission that we knew was coming but was confirmed this week. Lucas Cavallini, his knee injury is as bad as we kind of feared, although maybe not quite as bad because he's going to be out for 6 weeks. It could certainly have been a lot worse. At least 6 weeks. Hopefully it isn't too much more. It does make you wonder how wise it was, Naveed, for him to stay on and in particular try a bicycle kick.
That's a good one. Yeah, 100%. I think this one is a big blow especially I think for MDS and the staff. I think looking forward to the home games. I'm sure he was looking forward to put all his strongest team out there for those 9 games to make a really to make a big push. So this is going to be this is a bad one. But I think with Brian White, obviously he doesn't have the quality as with Lucas Cavallini, but I think he's still a decent backup to have. And disappointing. But I'm not sure. He obviously is not going to bring what Cavallini is going to offer, but that's a disappointment, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's concerning for me, Steve. I mean, he hasn't looked great in a lot of the matches. Now, obviously, maybe all of a sudden something will click with him and Gold and Caicedo and Dahomey. But the little bit that we saw tonight, he just seemed still to be a little bit off the pace. I would maybe prefer Ricketts up there because I think he's got the pace to maybe get on the end of some of those balls. But Cava being out is massive. We finally get the number 10, Steve, to back him up.
And then you lose a 9.
Your striker goes down.
Yeah. I think it really depends on who you want to put on, depending on what your strategy is overall, your tactics. Do you want that PC guy up at the beginning of the game, or do you want to save him for the end of the game when the center backs are tired? So it's all depending on that. For me, it's kind of weird to say. It might work out in the benefit in the long run because Cavallini has tried to play like a midfielder a lot. So maybe him seeing how the Whitecaps want to play, maybe kind of gives him a different view from the sidelines and kind of gets him. And I know they said 6 weeks, but Cavallini's the type of player that can recover quickly, and it might be actually shorter period. He's not like he seems to be a guy that wants to get on the pitch as soon as possible, so he might put the effort in. Yeah. Not put the effort. I'm not saying other people aren't putting the effort in to get on the pitch, but he might put that extra effort to get on the pitch. And I think that kind of injury, they give it 6 weeks, but it could be shorter. I was concerned that he was done for the season.
I was too. Because
of the way, especially the way he was kept getting up from the thing. Whenever there's non-contact injury, that's always concerning for me because it feels like there might be something more to it.
Mm-hmm. It's also concerning for Canada, Zach. Not as much as the Whitecaps, because at least Canada's got a lot of depth in there, and Cava's not the starter with Canada. But
Laren scored today in the opening of the Turkish League along with the Tiba. So yeah, I mean, I don't. Canada has depth and has options, and there's different ways that they can play. Obviously, this is a much greater concern in the immediate and long term for the Vancouver Whitecaps. I thought White actually did quite well today. Obviously, there's maybe one or two things that could have gone better for him, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't horrible, but there was a couple of things that I feel if there was a different player in the position that he was in, things would maybe have gone differently. If let's get to that, which was his chance 6 minutes in.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really fault him for this, but there was a slight slip But as we'll come to later on, in fact, let's just talk about that now. The pitch tonight was absolutely shocking. Players were slipping all over the pitch from both sides.
Do you think it's because they watered, like the watering, watered extra?
I asked Mark about it after the game, and he said it was really hard, and it was short grass, and they'd watered it, so it made it so slippy. And he said it's been like that before down there, so they're maybe going to have to look at different footwear the next time they go down there. But it was not conducive to good football. I was worried when you bring the likes of Gold and Dahomey on, one guy that's not fully fit, one guy that's coming back off an injury, and you've got players slipping all over the place.
Is it the case? Is it the case, Michael, where they just focus on building the stadium and they don't actually worry about what's going on with the playing surface?
I don't know. It's worrying though to hear Mark saying that it's a really, really hard surface, because you think grass is going to have a bit more gift to it than that. But
I thought that's maybe why they brought the plane in, so they could dry the field a little bit with it. I thought, you're right. The slippage hurt him, because if he had a little bit more power on it, he like the keeper save was like a one-handed save. So if that was a little bit more power, that could have got through that hand.
Totally.
Out into the net.
I'd have been an interesting dynamic of the game after that, I think, as well.
Yeah, but I think the key thing on that play was the excellent build-up from Ryan Raposo.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Now, Raposo got the start tonight. He's not had many chances. When he's come off the bench, a lot of last season, bit disappointing. And I was wondering, is he MLS quality? Should he go out on loan so he gets the playing time regularly that I feel he needs? He's had some good flashes, though, this season. But tonight, him against Mount, that was very good tactical play by the Whitecaps, Naveed, because they couldn't handle Raposo's pace. And for that chance 6 minutes in, he did so well. He collected it. He powered forward. A lovely through ball to White. And he nearly got on the end of the rebound as well from the save. It was just poked away. So, I mean, all in all, it was a great move and just part of a really good game for Raposo tonight.
No, to be like, I totally agree with you. I wasn't actually, I was never a big supporter of him, to be honest. But today was actually the first time I was actually really impressed with him. He really looked decent out there, and like you said, usually he comes out of off the bench and he doesn't do, like, he's not too effective, I would say, coming off the bench. But I mean, I don't think he's a regular starter as well either. But today he looked, I mean, he did a great job, to be honest. So I think that was a satisfying performance.
That was pretty much really all that we can talk about from the first half. It wasn't, I mean, that's not to say, going back to our earlier point, that it was boring. It's just, it was a chess game, as Zach described it. It's like the defences snuffed out chances. There was just no clear-cut chances. The Whitecaps clearly were just trying to get to the hour mark. Mark said afterwards, if they were up or level at the hour mark, that was when they were going to make those two subs, and they did. They brought on Ryan Gold, they brought on Christian Dahomey, and the immediate spark that you saw from them. I sent a message in our group chat saying the Whitecaps going forward, it was so pleasing to watch. It was fast-paced. They looked exciting. It actually felt like some of these other teams that we watch week in, week out in MLS, and we've been saying, oh, I wish the Whitecaps were like that. We look like we're in a different league. Yep. That was great transition play, but not even just transition play. They were taking the game to San Jose. They were moving the ball around quickly. Obviously, Gold was a big impetus in that. And again, I'm trying to temper the expectations and the excitement, but these little things that we're seeing when he's not fully fit, Zach, are really something to grab onto.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of encouraging signs from, how do you call them? Golden balls?
Golden balls. I'm trying to get to catch on. I don't know if it will.
Golden balls.
Golden balls, yeah.
Yeah. But I think one of the things maybe that was encouraging for me from the game today about having him in there, or for the 31 minutes plus that he played, was I think you're already seeing Vancouver's opponent paying specific attention to one important player, which is creating a little bit more space, a little bit more time, a little bit more opportunity for other players. which is something Vancouver hasn't had in a long time, right? And so I think Gold is going to be great for what he brings in terms of his actual contributions of his passes and his shooting and his setup play and all that kind of his work rate and all this kinds of things. But I think today I caught glimpses of how he is going to create space and time for others to create, to shoot. And I think that's a really exciting thing for Vancouver Whitecaps fans.
And having a player like that on the pitch also lifts the other Whitecaps as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And they see the talent on the pitch. And they put that extra thing, because I noticed today, even before Gall came on, their movement off the ball was much better. There wasn't a lot of standing around. They were like moving into space, creating open spots for passes.
Yeah.
I noticed that quite a bit beforehand, and when Gall came on, he was even more.
Well, that Raposo chance that he created early on in the game, it wasn't the craziest run or pass, but it was just encouraging to see him make the good run, and then have the good vision to make the through ball pass to White. And yeah, I agree with you, Steve. There were some really good signs for them today.
What about you, Naveed? What did you make of the spark when the two of them came on?
I was actually just gonna say, like, going back to earlier what Zach said about being a chess game, totally agree. I was really hoping that, with the two coming off the bench at the 60th minute, that they would have, San Jose, you could have gotten 3 points out of this too, I think. Maybe take a little bit more risk. You would have thought, that San Jose would open up more and go for it, but they kind of didn't. So I was hoping, and maybe they would have taken a little bit more risk and go for the 3 points, because at the end of the day, 1 point is great, but I thought they could have gone 3 points if they would have taken a little bit more risk.
San Jose, it's right that you say that, but I guess they were maybe worried because they knew with Caicedo and Dahomey on the wings and Raposo while he had been on, it's like that pace was really troubling them.
Right.
Despite all those things that we're saying, the best chance in the last half hour and the closest that anyone came in the whole game was San Jose, and it was their big money man that they splashed the gam for, Ibo Bisi. Great shot, great save by Max, tipped onto the post, and that was the closest either side really came to breaking the deadlock. Now, they've put out a lot of money for him, and Zach was stunned by the amount of money that they gave up for him. But as I pointed out, some clubs really don't care about GAM in this league. It's not as important to them.
How much did you go for anyways?
1.167 million. Like, did anyone else have to adjust their set? We're like, is that really a $1.167 million GAM player? You're right, Michael. We talked about this with another recent transaction in MLS, which was, who was it that went for
Marc Anthony K.
Marc Anthony K. I think it's a similar situation, and you're right.
Yeah. Colorado, they don't care about GAM. LAFC, because they're bringing in all these guys from all over. They want the GAM. They want the TAM.
And remember, you're getting Botsi with a very low salary. And to me, this is a deal too where he signs a new deal and he essentially could become a transfer market in the winter. He could be sent off to Europe, and then that way San Jose, like Colorado, get rid of GAM but bring in real money, which is what they want.
Which is always much better.
Yeah.
It's like you can't give your wife GAM for Christmas. I've tried.
It's essentially like trading monopoly money and getting real money in return.
I saw you look at her, Michael. I saw you look at her.
Yeah. She's trying to ignore me. That's her usual, to be fair. The only other thing to note during the game, San Jose should have won that in stoppage time in their last few seconds. Well, I was going to say the last few seconds that should have been, and then another 2 minutes appeared from somewhere. But Cade Kyle really had a great chance to win it. But Rusty, fantastic play by Rusty to come out, put him off. Yeah. And just the ball ran by, I think, because he was like, oh, am I going to get tackled or what? And yes, San Jose will certainly rue that. And I'm pretty sure San Jose is also going to get a mass confrontation fine as well, because they were starting to lose it with the referee when...
a couple of them.
Yeah, when the...
Mondo and Lutz.
Yeah, Wanda was
Yeah,
going
that's true.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Wanda wanted a penalty too, right? For that, like,
Yeah.
obvious not penalty.
But
Yes.
Wando at the same time was talking to the referee, but he was pushing his teammates away, so he doesn't get the confrontation thing. So he was shoving his teammates away while yelling
Just
at the
let
referee.
me shout at him.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, that's some of our thoughts on the game. I'm just going to play a little bit of the post-game audio from Marc Dos Santos. I unfortunately missed the start of the scrums because I hadn't realised I had my speakers on headphone setting. So I wasn't watching the screen. And then I thought, this is starting late. And I looked, I was like, oh, they've already started. So here's some of the audio that I can bring you from the gaffer, MDS.
Yeah, it seemed reminiscent of some past performances where you had, you waited for some second half subs to inject some life into a close game. What were your thoughts on the game and how it changed? It seemed to open up after Ryan came in, of course.
Yeah, the game, you're right. You're right with that. The game was very, the first half, very, very careful from both teams. There's a little bit of history in the intensity of the games between us and San Jose. If I go back to that special game at MLS is back, and then our game against them in Portland, or the game here, that there was 2 sending offs, and we knew we had to do a good job and be in the game. And the little things that we asked the guys tactically to do, they did very well with it. Only the last 15 minutes of the first half that we, for some reason, our block got a little bit lower, and we allowed them to switch a lot of balls to Espinoza. But I think Javain Brown and Jake Nerwinski had a fantastic game dealing with that, because it's very hard. It's very hard to deal with that. And then in the second half, again, a close game. We started the second half well also, and we knew if the minute 60 arrived and the game was 0-0 or tied, we would do 2 subs to open up the game. Then it becomes very hard for the heart of the coaches, but very exciting for fans. The game opens up. It's a back and forth one, and unfortunately, I just think that there was some moments that we won the ball in the midfield, and a decision making of a pass or a run didn't go through. But again, the effort, the intensity, the mindset of our guys on the road, that because it's been a while now, since August of last year that we're on the road, that they've kept a spirit of fighting and mentality that I can't fault them for anything.
I thought tonight was one of the best defensive performances of the season. The guys seemed to cope with everything that San Jose threw at them. And I mean, you touched on Javain and Jake, but Jake in particular is looking really good at that left back position. Jake
had a moment with us that he was a little bit in a low, and he wasn't in the best spot, or none of us were in the best spot, and he was able to fight through it. We were very fair with him in the process, and it's a player we trust, but it's also a player that plays in a position that has a lot of competition. We have Javain, we have Bruno, we have Jake, we have Guti, but today I felt that both Javain and Jake were incredibly important to deal with what we had to deal in them, because they pushed their wing backs very, very high. So if you picture Salinas, and even when they pushed players like Ebobize and Chofis and guys in half spaces, and we had to shift totally to the opposite side. I think our back four was incredibly aggressive doing that. They were aggressive in the offensive marking. Jake was good reading the switch. Javain was good reading the switch. and it helped the team defend those situations, because that's part of the game of San Jose. They invite you to one side, and especially with Espinoza, they invite you to one side. If you cannot win the ball on that side, and if you're not able to lock the press on one side, they look for the switch right away. And you hear Matias all the time on the sideline, switch, switch, switch. And then you need fullbacks that are incredibly aggressive getting across. And I think overall, 90% of the time, I think both of them did it very well. And it's great for the team to have all these options.
More out of curiosity, from watching at home, the pitch looked terrible tonight. It seemed so wet. Players were just slipping everywhere.
The pitch was very hard underneath. The grass was good, but the pitch was a little bit hard underneath. And when the pitch is hard and the grass is short and it's wet, more tendency to slip. And a lot of the players struggled with it. And it's not the first time. So maybe if we come back, and when we come back here at some point, we need to make sure that we learn, and maybe the choice of shoes is and cleats is important. But we struggled in some phases with that.
Looking ahead now to Wednesday, I know August's a little bit early in the season to start talking about must-win games, but if you can go home from this trip with 5 points from the 3 road games, with the next 4 being at home, it should set you up so nicely for the season running.
Oh yeah, we wanted to win here. We wanted to win in our last game. And unfortunately, we just got 2 points out of it. But we feel as a team that we need to keep going. We need to keep pushing. And yes, we're going to go to Austin to fight for those 3 points, but we understand also where we're going. We're going to a very hostile place, a place that is new, a place that is always packed, a place that has absolutely no restrictions when it comes to COVID. If the stadium could have had 90,000, maybe there would be 90,000. So we're going to a tough place where they also think that it's 3 important points for them. So it's going to be a battle. But again, our effort to get a point in LA, then a point here, and now going to Austin, we go with a certain level of belief and confidence, but also knowing that it will be very, very hard to get the full 3 points. We're going to need to do a very good game there also.
So the gaffer, Marc Dos Santos there. Now, I asked him about the defence, and the Whitecaps for me tonight, excellent defensive performance, one of the best of the season. And despite adding attacking pieces and everything like that, I've still had a worry about the defence. Can they keep the ball out of the net? And to be fair, the last couple of weeks, they've been putting in a good shift, but tonight in particular, I said earlier, they kind of dealt everything that I think San Jose threw at them. Jake Nowinski really growing into that left-back position. Mark talked there that Jake was at quite a low place a couple of weeks ago, and I think he saw probably the writing on the wall here, because Javein's doing well, you've got Bruno Gaspar, and we joked he's maybe the 3rd or 4th in the pecking order at right-back after Bikel, Godoy even, but
you guys said that, not me.
Yeah, you didn't. So.
For once, I didn't say anything bad about somebody.
I don't mean that bad about him. It's just that there was guys.
Evaluation.
Yeah, and it's obviously he's thought the same, and he was at a low, but they had a good talk, and he's got a whole new positive attitude, and he's looked good at left back, and Navid tonight. I know Zach's got a few things to say, so we'll come at him last in this. Tonight, I thought he was good at left back. Brown again at right back was excellent, and his injury isn't looking as bad as it maybe did when he came off.
Was it just cramp?
He didn't say, but he said it's probably not as bad as it looked, which is a positive. But I mean, just defensively in the whole, Navid, that was a good performance tonight.
Oh, overall, I mean, the whole defensive unit as a team, they defended well. And I mean, Jake, like you said, I mean, he's got pressure behind his back, that's for sure. I'm not sure how long his contract is, but I'm sure with
I
the
think he signed a
competition.
new one.
Oh, he signed a new one?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, with the competition he has on the right side, I mean, he definitely, I mean, he's got the chance now to do well on the left side, and I think so far he's been doing solid. I mean,
Yeah.
satisfying, that's for sure.
How long is Guti out for? Does anyone
Don't know.
know?
He travelled and was
Oh.
on the bench, I believe, tonight. Was he on the bench?
No, he
No,
wasn't.
he wasn't.
Oh,
No.
he did. He did
No.
travel down with him. So
I think Jake was serviceable in his last
Yeah.
game. They did pretty well tonight. I thought he was also serviceable and did really well on the whole. I think at the very end of the game, there was 2 or 3 times where was it Fierro? I might be mispronouncing it, but the guy who came, the number 7 who replaced their number 2 right back came on, and he got the better of him a couple times. Where the final service after Fierro got around him kind of let him down or whatever, but or didn't produce a a grade A kind of scoring chance.
Yeah.
That was a little bit concerning, but on the whole, I agree with you guys. Like he did really well.
someone else I thought looked good tonight, Russell Tybert. I thought he had a really good game, and there was one moment in the first half when he just closed the ball down, and then won it, and then kept it in from going out for a goal kick, and I just thought he did really, really, really well. That if he could bring that on a more regular basis, maybe we could talk about him as being a starter. But in a needs-must situation, this is what he can bring to the team.
100%.
Yeah, he's a solid squad player. He's not going to be your everyday starter, but he can fill in when people are injured and when there's like midweek games and stuff like that, and definitely off the bench if you're leading in a game. He could be a guy that really pushes the pressure on the attacking players and defends well.
I agree with you, Michael. There was another play in the second half where he hustled back, and it was, I don't even think he actually did anything, but the guy knew he was coming, and it kind of put the guy off, and it was, I think, an odd man rush, and the guy made a bad pass that was intercepted, but it was his presence or his approaching presence that caused the play. So, yeah, I think I agree. He had a good game. I would say, and we sort of talked about this as we were messaging before the game, I agree with you. He can start and play a role every so often. I don't think any of us see him as an everyday starter. My bigger concern for this game, and as we were talking about scores before the game, was that there wasn't just Russell Tybert, coming into the game. It was also, Andy Rose playing at center back, which I thought was over, but apparently it's not.
But he did well.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And Ryan Cole had a
totally.
really good
He
partnership
did well.
out there.
And then of course Raposo replacing Dahome and Cavallini, and it was like there was the multitude of people that non-starters that were starting that made it feel a little bit questionable for me. But I agree with you. Rose, to his credit, again partnered well with Ranko and kept a clean sheet.
Ultra clean sheet.
Ultra clean.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a stadium where Max put in that MLS performance.
Right.
Best
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
save.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
thankfully
Didn't
didn't
have to do
have to do 16 tonight, but that's okay. So 2 points from 2 road games. They can make it 5 if they can get that win in Austin on Wednesday night. Now, as we heard from MDS there, something I hadn't really thought about because I'm just focusing solely on the Whitecaps. I know it's just August. It's early to be talking about must-win games, but this is surely a must-win game for Vancouver. But as MD has said, Austin will also be looking at it like that. We play Austin twice in the next couple of weeks, and I'm thinking, it's 2 must-win games. You've got to take 6 points from that. Austin, who are also still in touch with the playoff places, will also be looking at those games and thinking, well, that's 6 points we could possibly get from a team that's beside us in the standings. The draw tonight moved the Whitecaps off the bottom of the standings, so they're 1 point above Austin now. The slow rise is coming. But I don't know what to make from this game on Wednesday. Austin, they've impressed at times. They've been in a bit of a slump of late. They've got that home crowd roaring them on. They've got that great stadium and the great atmosphere there, and the lights go out and it's all luminous and everything like that. So, I mean, that's going to be an experience for them. Let's quickly go around. We'll start with Naveed. What are you expecting from Wednesday? What kind of tinkering would you do? And are you confident the Caps can get 1-3 points from this? Or Do you think Austin might have this?
To be honest, if I were them, I would go with the attitude of they have nothing to lose. I mean, they have 9 home games coming up after this. They should just go for it and just literally just go for the 3 points. I mean, Austin is actually the one they have to win it for sure. I mean, they're playing home.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, I mean, playing Vancouver. I mean, they're definitely planning on having those 3 points. In terms of changes, I mean, to be honest, I kind of lost the track because I feel like MDS makes so many changes.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't even know what's next. I mean,
It could be anything at this
it could
point.
be anything at this point. I mean, maybe see Goal play a half at least. I mean, last time he played 10 minutes, now half an hour. Maybe he gives him a half. Like
He
a half,
did look a bit gassed, I thought.
Yeah.
There was a shot of him on the screen in the 82nd minute, and I thought, oh, he's
Yeah.
blown out of his ass here. It's like he was
Yeah, actually, he's
sweating
not
and-
gonna risk it. He's not gonna risk it until
No.
like the home games. He's
and in
probably
that
gonna.
heat and humidity and stuff
Oh,
as well.
right. No, that makes sense. But I mean, he's probably gonna get another half an hour, that's for sure. But other than that, I mean, in terms of changes, maybe he's gonna put Flo in just for him to get a few minutes in as well. I mean, I wouldn't make any changes in terms of the back four because I mean, overall
Yeah.
defensively they look great like today. So I'm not sure whether he's gonna make any changes in the back line. But yeah, Dahome, I don't know how ready he is to start. Maybe I'm not sure.
I mean, for me,
Uh,
Steve, if he's good to go, I think you have to start him.
Yeah.
If you can slide in a couple started if they're good to go. If there's any kind of question that they could get injured, I think you save them because you are like close to heading home
Right.
and playing at your first home game in like 2 years in front of fans or almost 2 years or whatever it is. So I think you do. I think you do try to put the healthiest because before these 2 games, I thought that they had a better chance against Austin than they had against San Jose. Austin to me, they have not impressed that to me at all. Their last game, they won 3-2, but prior to that, they were getting shut out a lot, like multiple games in a row. Like from July 1st, that was their second game where they scored a goal. That's how, and before that, they were not scoring goals either. So they get shut down quite a bit. Now this might be the game where they start to score like a few goals in, but like last Saturday they were shut out against Dallas. So I think this is the game that they could win. They could break that winless streak and try to get a win before heading home, and that would be ideal for them as well because then you have the momentum going into your home stadium.
It'll be amazing buzz, Zach, to get to BC Place on the back of a win, 5 points from a 3-game road trip. What are you expecting from Wednesday's game?
Yeah, I mean, you guys make a lot of good points. I think I haven't watched all of Austin's matches or highlights this year, but I've seen a few games at their stadium that makes it look intimidating and makes it look like they play well there. So maybe I haven't seen enough of the bad ones, Steve, and enough of the ones where they haven't been scoring.
Well, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen very much. But when you look at their stats and everything like that, there's all I see is zeros everywhere, and like
there's been a lot of huff and not a lot of puff. It's like the final third's been letting them down.
Yeah, July 1st they scored 4 goals against Portland, and then they it was until August 4th they scored another goal at home. They scored a goal against Tigers, but I think
FC
it was
Tigers.
No, I was gonna say Tigers.
No. The Mexican side.
Oh,
Tigres.
Tigres. Whatever.
Yeah, Tigres.
Yeah, but I think that was a friendly, and they lost 3-1. But between July 1st and August 4th, they were shut out in multiple games.
Yeah.
So to me, that's why I'm not overly impressed with what they look.
I guess the last game or the second to last game I watched them play was I think that Portland game where they were just like lights out.
Yeah,
and
that one.
And the lights went out like I think 4 times. So in that game, but I think. I think like Naveed said, Austin is going to go for it. Like probably even more so than San Jose did tonight.
That wouldn't be hard, to be honest.
Yeah. But there are a lot of good questions about what this Marc Dos Santos will do in terms of the starting 11. I think who is fully fit obviously plays a huge role. I agree with you guys.
Probably see Kyle come back in. Unless he's in the doghouse.
I think we should
Yeah.
stop asking who MDS is going to put on the starting 11 and ask who the medical staff is going to put on.
Yeah,
the starting 11.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
getting
true.
that way.
Right.
I agree with you guys about Gald probably only playing about 30. But because they really want him to play as much as possible on the 21st.
Yes.
Um,
I'll give my prediction for the game here. I think it's going to be 1-0 Whitecaps with Gold getting the winner.
in Austin,
Yes.
are you? Is this you work for the marketing department now, or?
Yes.
Get
Get your tickets. AFTN.ca. There's a donation button. I'm sure it'll go to tickets.
But the interesting part for me is two things. One, I don't think we mentioned this much. I thought Jingles played respectively well today.
I was wanting him to score so I could have Jingles all the way as my headline or something, but
Yeah. So I could see him maintaining his place in midfield and being joined by someone like Caillou in place of maybe Rusty. But if Bikel's okay.
I just had this marketing thing because they're sponsored by Bell. Jingle Bell. How have they not gone for that marketing opportunity?
Because he hasn't played enough.
Well,
or hasn't scored yet.
and he hasn't been in Canada that much either.
Yeah. But
they can do it going forward.
The bigger thing for me is, Dahomey, obviously, if he's fit and they think is wise, I think he'll start. But what's going to happen is at the back. Does MDS say, if Brown's okay, we got a clean sheet, I'm going to run out the same group, or what happens there? Do they keep Godoy for the home game? Is Gutierrez ready to go? Like, that's where I think the biggest questions are going to be is what happens with that back line, especially coming off such a positive performance. But I think in the end, I think it's going to be kind of like a 2-1-ish kind of Austin win.
The ideal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I agree with you, Zach. 2-1. Scoots is going to score the winner.
No way. He's been playing terrible.
I got it. I'll go totally marketing, and I'll go 1-0 with Vite getting taken down in a foul late in the game.
Is he going to be available?
He's not even going to be here.
I'm doing a hypothetical prediction here. Vite gets taken down for a penalty. Gold sends it in on a free kick, and Florin scores it on.
Yeah.
All three new additions combined for the goal.
Steve, you would fit in well at the Whitecaps marketing because it's hypothetically all based on winning.
Fine, I'll do a new addition. Gasper gets taken down instead of.
Oh, there you go.
Basically, a new addition.
Oh yeah, he could come in too if he's fit.
Yeah,
that would be
there's every chance. Yeah. But that is it for our Whitecaps chat. We are just going to do a 2-part show in this episode. We're going to be turning our attentions to the Canadian women's national team again for the next part, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hey, I am Axel Schuster, and I'm listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Heaven sent someone down. I'm about to turn this confession to a small cloud. Who put me here? It's hard to say. Nails bleed as I crawl out of the grave. I want to play guitar, but I reach for a glass. She says that I'm a star, that I won't last. She understands me like you did. She really loves me. I'm a saint living in sin. Oh, she really loves me. She really loves me. She really
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show, and kicking off this part, it's our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for August from Sacramento, California, Destroy Boys, and that is another one of their new songs, a single taken from their forthcoming album, Open Mouth, Open Heart, that gets released on October 8th. That was a song called Drink. And I'm sure we all need to have a drink to keep ourselves nice and cool with the hot weather that we've been having the last few days. Unbearable, but hopefully cooler times are ahead. And hopefully the Whitecaps season won't be driving us to drink by the end of it. Keeping my fingers crossed for that. Not as optimistic on that as the weather cooling down though, I have to say. But we're not talking Whitecaps in this part. We're not talking MLS. That's all done and dusted for this episode. For the rest of this show, we're going to be turning our attentions to the Canadian women's national team. Now, we had a really good debate on the last episode just about what the future of club soccer is in Canada for the women's team. We'll come back a little bit more to that after we bring you this episode's feature interview. So the players and coaching staff all headed back to Canada, did some media interviews and did the rounds. So I got a chance to sit down with Adam Day, one of the assistant coaches of the Canadian women's national team, former Whitecaps academy coach, and also current head coach of the Capilano College Blues and FC Tigers Vancouver. He's also the technical director out at Guildford Soccer Club. And he's a man that I've known for many a year. Always enjoy chatting to Adam. So I thought it would be great to get a little bit of insight from one of the coaching staff as to just what this whole Olympics experience was like. What was it like to be in the bubble? What was the whole Olympic Village like? To talk us through the games as well, just how it was feeling on the bench, watching those dramatic games play out, the penalty shootouts, the win over the US, and of course the gold medal game as well. So go make yourself your hot beverage of choice, grab your favourite biscuit, sit back and enjoy our chat with Canadian women's national team assistant coach, Adam Day.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby!
So delighted now to be joined by, I was going to say a gold medal winner, but I just found out this morning you didn't actually get a gold medal. But welcome to the show, the Canadian women's national team assistant coach, Adam Day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you here and to chat to you again. So yeah, I just found out this morning when I read the article that was in the Surrey newspaper that you didn't get a gold medal from this.
Yeah, that's right. We did know that actually going into the tournament. I guess it's like an Olympic thing that happens, and I think it was a kind of wait and see moment if we would get a medal, and then we'd worry about it then. So it was only really once we saw the medal, felt the medal, that we was like, yeah, we really want a medal. But yeah, it is what it is.
I guess it's because other coaches in other sports would say, well, we want a medal then, and why have we not got one as an athletics coach? Or I just never thought about that before, but I mean, that certainly doesn't temper the achievement and everything that's done. So I just want to chat to you a little bit about the whole experience from start to finish. Now, I actually did not know that you were involved with the national team until I saw that, like, Colin Miller was taking over FC Tigers because you were going away to the Olympics.
Yeah.
So when did you start to get involved with all of this?
Yeah, Bev called me just before Christmas last year and just said there might be something opening. Would you be interested? And I said yeah. And then maybe the turn of the new year, we sort of agreed on sort of a role to come in. So February was the first camp. We went to She Believes in Orlando. So I was a part of that camp there, and that's my first involvement with the team. And then obviously subsequently from there, we went to the UK in April, Spain in June, then into the Olympics. So the agreement with Bev was just come in as the support staff, get on the pitch with the players, and then we'll get up to the end of the Olympics, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So it's been 6-7 months, I guess now, of being involved with the program.
I was on a call this morning with Bev, and one of the journalists asked her, does she think about the fact that if the Olympics had gone ahead last year, she wouldn't be involved in it, probably, and I guess you maybe wouldn't have been either. So it's like, has that crossed your mind at all? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you look at the timing of everything, and arguably timing is everything. And sort of where Bev was this time last year, and her role, and myself, we all could have been off in different areas, and you just never know in this game, do you? And then obviously Bev coming into the role and really, reaching out of the blue, really, because I hadn't I'd stayed in touch with Bev over the last several years, but our close interaction was when Bev was previously with the youth teams and I was with the Whitecaps Rex program. So it's just funny how it's all falling into place. The delay, the lead in, probably the shortest lead in from a staff ever into the Olympics in terms of the time frame. And we've been very lucky that we've obviously been able to deliver.
With everything that's gone on last year, this year, the delay, there was a lot of calls before the tournament. People in Japan didn't seem to want the Olympics to go ahead. I mean, it all went off relatively well. I mean, I know there was a few hundred cases, but I mean, on our side, everything seems to have gone off well with Canada. Were you apprehensive about going? Did you have worries about what it was going to be like when you got there? Was there COVID concerns?
No, not from our end. Like since February, we have been in a very strict bubble when we've gone away. The testing before we travel, very important. When we arrive at the various camps that we've been tested every single day, every second day. The protocols, even when the world around us was starting to loosen up in our own bubble, we were very, very strict. So we'd lived that life for 3 or 4 camps. So we knew it wasn't going to be much different for us going to Japan. We'd obviously heard that, they was in quite strict protocols themselves as a country. I think they was in a state of emergency while it was going on. So when we got to Japan, there was no more apprehension than what there would have been on any other trips. And almost we were kind of experienced at doing this now. So we knew what to expect. And there was no qualms, certainly from my end or anyone else I've spoken to about safety concerns or any of that. It was very professionally done internally and externally when we travelled.
I mean, we'll get into the games and the action and winning the gold in a sec, but like the whole Olympic experience for you, obviously it's been a little bit different because you were in a bubble. You couldn't go and enjoy the country. You couldn't, I guess, go and watch any of the other events and stuff. How was that whole experience for you, just being with that one group? And did that kind of help really maybe get the group bonding together and just really more focused?
Yeah, I think a couple of parts to that. You're right. We didn't get to sort of have the downtime, the touristy stuff, see the beautiful things around us. We were very much confined to the hotel, the bus, the training pitch, airport. Like it was very, very repetitive in that standpoint. I do think that some of it helped kind of keep that togetherness. And I have to say, coming into the group since January, there is a real unique togetherness with this group. It seems like all the players really look forward to getting into camp with the national team. And so I think the big challenge really was to keep the players occupied away from the game. And we've done a good job with that, of keeping the camaraderie and the spirit and distractions away from it, because it was so restricted at times. You had nothing but time to think on the game, the matches, the training, the tactical nuances. So it was just trying to get that balance of them being able to switch off when they couldn't go for a walk, they couldn't go and grab a coffee, they couldn't, it was very much in-house.
I heard there was like Mario Kart competitions and the coaching staff, Bev was talking about that this morning.
Yeah, and I did all right. I got to the semi-finals, but it was, one day I saw Desiree Scott had it, and I just said to Desi, I said, we should get a tournament going. And I think it really got everyone into it. Because staff was in it, and the players were into it. And I remember at one point, we was talking about the semi-finals of the Mario Kart competition in the same sentence we was talking about the semi-finals against the USA. So I think it was a real positive distraction for the players. And we all had a good laugh with it. And I don't think any of the staff made the final in the end, but the players had a good laugh with it.
So going into this tournament, the talk had always been to change the colour of the medal. That was the big thing that everyone was talking about. Back-to-back bronzes was a phenomenal achievement. It had kind of felt to me from the outside looking in, and I'm one of these people that I mainly pay attention during the Olympics and the World Cup, I'll be honest with that. But it did seem like the rest of the world was kind of catching up. Some countries like England, for example, were maybe overtaking Canada a little bit. But the belief was always there that you could do better than bronze. What do you feel has kind of taken this group to the next level? Is it Bev? Is it a combination of things?
Yeah, I mean, Bev was very, very clear coming in with changing the colour of the medal and, challenged the players of what that not only meant to the staff, but what it meant to the players and what they wanted to achieve. And I remember very early on, some of the players like, it's time to stop talking and we need to make this happen. The back-to-back bronze is an amazing achievement in itself. It's unbelievable consistency. But the players wanted more, and Bev felt they could get more. And it was really then just trying to sort of, fine comb through those details of how we're going to make it happen collectively. And obviously it's gone unbelievably well after that. What got them there, an amazing togetherness, really the group is connected. I felt in the end, there was a perfect balance and blend of youth and experience. You had, the senior players that have been there and done it and were able to call on some brilliant, past experiences with the team. You had the little cluster of players in the mid-20s range that good experience. Some of them have been involved in it, but still, mid-careers. And then you had the exuberance of the youth that, bringing that extra energy and zest, but also looking up to the people in and out. So I felt like we had a really good blend, and they got on really well. And, fingers crossed, never will we see such protocols in the sporting world. And they were thrusted on each other for 6 weeks, like no room to breathe. And everybody was just really calm and, great emotional control through all of it. And I think that's what got us through in the end, Going
into the group games, I think everyone thought it was almost a formality. You'd get through the group. It's just where you were going to finish.
Yeah.
Because, it was tough games, but with potentially 3 going through, I think you always knew that Canada were going to go through. Having no fans in the stadium may have helped a little bit, I guess, against Japan, because you know what it's like when there's a home crowd doing it. But those first games, not just in Canada's group, but when you saw that the US had lost as well, it kind of, to me, that's when I kind of thought, you know what, this is a wide open tournament. Did the mood in the group change at all when you knew that the US had lost the first game? And it's like, well, maybe they're not unbeatable.
Yeah, I think so. And straight away, like, I think that equally turned to, Sweden looked really good.
Yeah. Side too.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think the first game, like, there's always that first game nerves because it's maybe not you have to win it, but you don't want to lose that first game. And going into the host nation, and they were a really good side. Japan, really good side. Perhaps they just don't have some of the physical power to make the difference at either end of the field. But we were a little disappointed with a point. But, when we reflected on it to go, you know what, it's not a bad point. Host nation, first game, points on the board. We always felt that Chile was the game to get the 3 points on the board. We knew kind of 4 points would probably take us through anyway. And then, as you said, are we finishing first, second, and third? And then we got onto the GB game, and there were so many variables that could happen with that. And
well, yeah, because no one really knows what to expect when it's a mishmash like that.
No, and I'd watched GB a couple of times, video and live when I was there, and they were a good side, really good side as well. So I think we went into that game wanting to win, but again making sure that we didn't get beat and keep the sort of unbeaten run going. And in the end, we was quite unfortunate to concede, even though probably a draw was a fair result. And I think that was the game for us that, we looked on the bench and how well they were celebrating the equaliser. And I think that was the moment that we thought, well, hold on a minute, I don't think people really enjoy playing against us now. And so we get out the group stage unbeaten, which was a great achievement in itself. We didn't win the group, but we were happy with obviously what we got on the board.
Going into the tournament, one of the big questions was, like, everyone saw the defence was so solid, you weren't giving goals up in these friendlies. It was just where the goals were going to come from. If Christine wasn't scoring, who was going to step up? You'd played Brazil in the She Believes Cup, if I'm not mistaken, and it's like that was another close game. So when it was the quarterfinals, you must have expected that like one goal would have won it, and in the end, of course, it obviously went to spot kicks, but that was always going to be a tense game.
Yeah, we saw them in She Believes, and then we played them in Spain just before, and that was I have to say, it was probably my most enjoyable game up until the Olympics. It was 0-0, but it was a real quality, intense game. So we knew that was going to be, a real 50-50 throw up, that one. And, we'd spent a lot of time out in the knockout stages if you want to have a chance of winning the tournament. And it was a good game, back and forth, very tight, exactly as you said, maybe one goal was going to win it here or there. And then it went all the way extra time and penalties, and very, I say fortunate, but like I said, we'd worked and practiced a lot on penalties and having the players feel really focused, stepping up to take it. And we got the job done on penalties in the quarterfinals. So we was then obviously delighted. We knew that we were playing for a medal somewhere, which was then took a little bit of the pressure off after that quarterfinal game, because we knew we had 2 bites of the cherry to get a medal.
Of course, the big ghost has always been the US. In the I've been here since 2007, and it's like that's always been, John Herdman always spoke about that was what he wanted. And I think if you sat and asked him, his biggest regret is that he never probably didn't win a gold, but after that, probably that he didn't beat the US in any of the games. This, from all like previous games, I know what happened in 2012, everything like that, but even with that, I've always thought the US were going to get the upper hand. This one felt wide open, though.
Yeah, I would agree. And we saw them in She Believes again in February, and I mean, we was quite a depleted squad in February, and I think they had a camp before us, and we were brilliant against them. And it was 1-0. It was kind of a second phase off a corner, I think it was. They got the goal, and we was very proud of the performance, but also a little bit disappointed that we had them. We had some big chances in that game, and although probably they had the better chances, more chances, we had the better chances. Coming into this one, there was an eerie confidence and calmness around us. Like there wasn't the usual panicking. Like we knew the tensions were going to be high because it is the US, but maybe it was the Mario Kart competition. I don't know, but we were calm. The players were calm. The staff was calm. Again, we'd been to watch the US live in the stadium, and we felt like there were certain areas that we could get at them, and we had a lot of trust in the back line, and obviously the ability to keep clean sheets. So we went into that game with a quiet confidence, and look, they controlled large portions of that game, but we defended sort of doggedly. We got lucky where we needed to, but showed great resilience at the same time. And really, we're just waiting for that one moment to happen, and it did. And not to say it was a perfect game plan, but we knew that was the type of performance that it needed to be to beat them. And I think in the end it was probably deserved, because
it was like after the penalty, I thought Canada, they saw the game out well. Obviously there's going to be pressure, but I thought Canada saw it out really well in the end.
I agreed. And there wasn't too many moments in that game where I thought we're really under the cosh here. Like we're under pressure at times, but in any level you've got to ride those moments of being under pressure, and that's arguably what separates the top teams anyway. And then when you have your moment, you make it count, and that's exactly how it went. So I think it was a real confident performance from the team.
Yeah, you saw what it meant to everyone as well, and I may as well talk about Jessie Fleming now. Nerves of steel to take that spot kick. It's like, I mean, what was going through your mind as she stepped up to take that? Yeah,
again, and the staff had spoken quite a bit on not just penalty shootouts, but penalty takers, and again spent a bit of time in training on it. And Michael Norris, who was kind of heading up the set piece side of things, really stuck his hat on Jesse and said, I feel good with Jesse. He's ready. And we'd watched her score, a fair amount in training. So there was an air of confidence with that as well, but what's riding on it and the pressure and the magnitude of the game. So, but it was an excellent penalty. It was fantastic. I mean, unsavable really. So yeah, absolute credit to Jess for stepping out and slotting it away.
So into the final, you've already achieved your first goal, so you've improved the colour of the medal. Did that take the pressure off you a little bit? And also, I think to many people, Sweden were probably the favourites going into that final. So did that ease the pressure a bit on you?
I think so. I know Bev would have spoke to this and was very clear, and Bev was very clear of changing the colour of the medal. And it was put to the players, look, you've done that. You've created history because we know we're guaranteed a silver medal. But do you want more? And, and of course, everyone was like, yeah, like this is an opportunity to play for a gold medal. We knew how good Sweden were. I felt Sweden were the best team in the tournament. Again, I'd watched them. I thought they were very, very well organised, very dangerous on the counter-attack, dangerous from set pieces, all the things that you kind of see in international football. But let's live the moment. Let's try and give it. We literally, and we said this, we had nothing to lose and we have everything to gain. Mm-hmm. So, let's make sure we give it our best shot. And, was under a lot of pressure in that first half. And we rode probably the pressure well enough. I think it was important to get to 1-0 at half time because it wasn't too much of a uphill challenge at that point. And then Bev, very simply asked the players, look, this is another challenge here. It's the first time we've gone down. How do you want to respond? And I thought for 25 minutes in the second half was probably our best showing in the tournament. Really good, really dangerous, put them on the back foot a little bit. And then I think when the goal goes in, then you start to see people feel, hold on a minute, we could win gold here. So, like extra time as a little bit back and forth, you get to penalties, and even that itself was drama.
Yeah. I mean, after the equaliser, though, it got a bit nervy. I didn't watch it live. I thought I've PVR'd it. I didn't know the score when I woke up. So after it got to 1-1, I couldn't watch anymore. So I was fast forwarding because in my head I thought this is going to penalties.
Yeah.
I just did not see it not. And then it got to penalties and then I started playing it again. When the 3 penalties were missed, I'll be honest, I thought that's it. Now, obviously you can't say that because you fully believed in the team. But I mean, it must have been so nervous. Just everyone... you've missed 3 penalties in a row. It's all of a sudden it's up to Steph to come up with a huge save. Yeah. She did, and then the momentum swung again.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we was very confident with penalties, and the fact that we'd had a positive outcome against Brazil. I think there was again a small air of confidence that okay, we've been in one, we've won one, we're okay with it. Go into penalties. The first miss, you 1-0 up. You think it's going to be easy. That's it. We've got it. And then, 3 misses. I mean, I'll try and rack my brain here, but I can't remember too many penalty shootouts that you miss 3 and you end up, taking it. And
what went through my head was, because I thought, well, that's it. And I went, at least it's more than one that's missed because they'll get a little bit of consolation. But it's one person. You know, as an English person, it must be so horrible. But I was like, But then it was amazing after that.
I had a real funny feeling when, the captain stepped up to slot it away and win it. I just felt, I don't think she's going to score here.
She looked nervous.
Yeah, and obviously over the bar, and okay, we've got a lifeline. We still need to score to stay in it. And I think that was Deanne Rose's penalty, which was top corner. And for me, once that went in, I'm like, that's got to turn the tables on this one. And then obviously Steph makes another great save and Julia steps up. And so then you started to feel like the writing's on the wall here. This is ours, Watching
Steph in that shootout, she had a smile on her face the whole time. And I've watched a couple of shootouts, and there was one in Copa America where I can't remember what keeper it was. He was just trash talking the whole time. But she was just kind of smiling, and I thought, that's off-putting.
Yeah.
Surely to the person taking the penalty, because it's like, oh, she's like super confident.
That's right. Absolutely.
I mean, has it sunk in yet, just what you've achieved?
I don't think truly. You know, I said this a couple of times. I've said it to the staff, like, when you're in the changing rooms, the football environments, you know, and often when you get to win something, you know, the obvious reaction is, well, we want to be in this again, and we want to win it again, and back to back, and win the World Cup. But I was just trying to say, like, let's also enjoy this. Like, we don't know. You never know in football what the future holds, and this is an unbelievable achievement. It's a historic achievement that it cannot be beaten. It can only be equaled.
Exactly.
And I just said, you know, let's not take this for granted. I still think we was walking in a daze for 24 hours or so. Like, did we just win gold? You know, and then we've all come back respectively. And I think, you know, even when we're speaking behind the scenes, I still think there's an element of, like, did that happen? Did we just win the gold? And then you see, you know, the reaction back home and friends and family and whatnot. So I don't know if it has sunk in. I don't know if it ever will sink in, the magnitude of what it is, because, you know, as professionals, you just get in that mode of then thinking about the next thing and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's an amazing achievement from the players and all the staff and the technical team as well, that, you know, this could be the greatest thing we achieve. Hopefully there's many more successes to have. But let's not forget, this is an Olympic gold medal, you know, and I know in the football world, perhaps the World Cup, you know, is the pinnacle for some, but in the sporting world, an Olympic gold medal is the pinnacle of sport. And
well, in the women's game, you've only got the two things, and there's probably a lot more eyes on the Olympics than there is in the Women's World Cup.
That's right. So, you know, we don't have to be you know, big-headed about it and arrogant about it, but also be really proud of what's happened, because
don't be like the US.
Down. Yeah, exactly. But this is going to go down in the history books, and, you know, we can all sort of be very proud of that achievement. So yeah, whether it sinks in or not, I don't know, but it's a great feeling.
So, I mean, this was a question Bev was asked today. It's like, what next for everyone? Now, for you, for anyone that doesn't know, I first knew Adam. Some of you will know Adam from when we've covered him when he was with the Whitecaps and the academy and with the under-16, 17s team. But you juggle a lot of balls and you wear a lot of hats at the moment. I mean, is it about 5 head coaching roles and a technical director?
Yeah, probably something around that, yeah.
So, for you, like, what's next? Are you still involved with the women's programme for the next cycle going into the World Cup, as far as you know, anyway? Yeah,
I mean, look, the original conversation with Bev was, let's just get through to the end of the Olympics and we'll reassess there. We had a good conversation when we was in LA just before we headed to Japan, and, you know, I just said I've been really happy to be involved in it, and I think Bev was equally as happy with my involvement. So we just said we would speak after the Olympics. Obviously, we'll let everything digest and go from there. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with the players, working with the staff, the whole environment, regardless of you know, winning the medal or not. It's been a really good experience, and for me to reconnect with high performance players again, I've really enjoyed being in that environment where the pressure does count a little bit, and I love working in those settings. So yeah, we'll see. Certainly there's a keenness from my side, but, you know, we'll see what unfolds, obviously, in football.
Yeah, I mean, winning a gold is obviously going to put some of the women in the shop window. There's going to be a lot of interest from clubs, but coaches as well, because I'm sure Bev's now going to be high on a lot of clubs' lists, never mind the international setup, and with the game growing over in England and money getting ploughed into the game over there, which kind of brings me to the next thing about what's next, because in our last episode we had a debate about what's next for the women's game at club level. Now, you're involved with Guildford in Surrey.
Yep.
And they've got a women's programme. The Whitecaps, you've been involved with that, and the
Yep.
women's side, the Rex Elite. FC Tigers, you're the head coach there. They're going to be having a women's team going into some league. We don't know what's happening with that, but they've got the team just now that was in the PCSL.
Yep.
You're at Cap College as well, and they've got the women's team. But for so long here, there's been women that come out of college, and there's not really a lot of opportunities. And we had it on the men's side for years. There was a whole lost generation that if they didn't want to go to Europe, they'd know where to play. They've now got the CPL. What would you like to see happen, just from a personal point of view? Would it be to start off with one, maybe two NWSL teams? Or do you feel that the landscape is there to support a domestic league for women now in Canada?
Yeah, I think, and look, we know that the Whitecaps have had a big involvement with the women's teams in the past. And I know there's always been a desire from the club to continue that on. I think this is the time to ask questions. I think there has to be a team in the NWSL as a minimum, because you're right. Where the men had to wait for the CPL, the female players now it's university and then what? And obviously you have some trickling into professional clubs now, which is brilliant. But we need more of that. We need a team competing in the NWSL, maybe two teams, competing in there to give a bigger pool of players an opportunity to play and continue to be ready. I think the objective has to be to get a professional women's league in the country. It's always baby steps. It took a long time for the men's to get there. So it just needs to happen on the female side, because you touched on it earlier. I've witnessed, certainly in the UK in the last 10 years, the shift towards women's football has been huge. And the difference being is all of these top clubs have the infrastructure that their men's programming has had. And rightly so, pressure's been put on those clubs to have a women's program. Well, they just come and drop the women's program into these unbelievable infrastructures. The players at Man City are at Man City. They're rubbing shoulders with Pep Guardiola and the men's squad. The Arsenal players are at Colney. They're doing the same. And so you get all that Paris Saint-Germain, like they're all doing it. And I think not just, Canadian football, but North America, we have to be very cognizant of that 15 years from now, if we don't continue to push the envelope, we're going to get overtaken, because you've got maybe a really strong football culture in those countries. You've now got the facilities, you've now got the coaches, you're now seeing the finances come into the game there. So there's more willingness and more intent from people to get involved on the women's side in particular. And the standards are jumping so quickly. And I read the other day, actually, I think Barcelona just brought their first ever wave of under-9s in to La Masia Academy.
Oh, wow.
So 15 years from now, you've got a group of Spanish girls that have been playing at Barcelona under their philosophy. They're going to be unbelievable groups of talent. And I just think we can't take that for granted, that we have lots of players playing and they go to NCAA and we think that's going to be enough, because it's not enough. We need people playing professional football. We need our own professional league, and we need to not only increase the player pool, but increase the quality in that player pool, because the rest of the world is doing it.
So much of it's on money, because, the CPL is going to lose money for probably up to 10 years. And you need people that are philanthropic and want to put money in it. I just don't know that there's that enough people. It always seems there's a big wave of excitement at the end of the Olympics when there's a medal won. Not so much the World Cup, because Canada didn't win it or get to the semis in the last few of them, but it dies down again. So it needs the media to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
It needs to, like the NWSL, you can't even watch it here unless I think you've got Twitch or Paramount Plus or some weird thing. So, like in England, BBC, even BBC Scotland now are doing a women's Scottish roundup show. In Glasgow, it was always Glasgow City, then Glasgow Celtic thought, oh, we'll invest in that. And now Glasgow Rangers are like, oh, we're going to invest in that.
That's right.
So it needs investment. I just don't know where it comes from. And as Christine said afterwards, if it doesn't come now, when's it going to come?
I think that's the reality of it. You know, striking while the iron's hot. You know, now's the time, as I said, to ask difficult questions, to put plans in place, because we, you know, even on this, it shouldn't be a reflection to be complacent, to say we've just won a gold medal, we're doing a great job. Because it won't be enough. It might be enough in the short term, 2, 3, 4 years. You keep the interest going. You're up at the business end of tournaments. It's great, fantastic, but it's the 10, the 20, the 30-year plan that I think we could get caught out with if we're not careful. And you're right, it is money. It is people just with that burning ambition to keep this country at the top end of the female game. And you know, the interest is always there, like you said, in tournaments, major tournaments, especially when they do it well. But we need that to be more consistent. So absolutely, I couldn't agree more. If it's not going to happen now, when does it happen? It's not going to happen in 10 years' time. If there's a bad showing in a tournament, you're out of the group stage and it's doom and gloom, no one's going to probably invest in. And if they did, it's too late. You know, now's the time to do it. So hopefully, you know, we can sort of help push that in the grassroots game and in the sort of the young elite environments, and then get more players playing in top environments, because that's what's needed to happen.
I can't believe we've gone backwards here since I moved here, because there was the Whitecaps team pro, and there was Ottawa pro team, and now you've got nothing. And it's like, how do you host a World Cup and then everything that was meant to come out of that? And I know there's been some good things come out of it, and like that inspired a lot of girls. There's going to have been women on this team that were
absolutely.
Like Julia Grosso. I mean, she must have been, what, 12 or something when the World Cup was here. So this will inspire a whole new generation as well, but they have to have somewhere to play, otherwise it's pointless. Just to round off our chat, I want to talk about one of the other big things that you're involved with, which is FC Tigers. Which regular listeners will know we've been doing some commentary for some of their recent games. So you've got involved with that. You're the head coach. You obviously weren't the head coach for the summer because you were at the Olympics, but you're going to be back at the helm. The team's moving into the Fraser Valley Soccer League. They're going to be taking on Whitecaps on a regular basis at under-19s. How excited are you for this team? Because from the games that I've seen, there's a lot of really good young talent there.
Yeah, very much so. I have to say, you know, taking the group in the VMSL last year, you know, we had to work quite hard at pre-season, and obviously through my own connections of getting some guys previously with the Whitecaps, you know, those sort of players in the in-between, you know, not quite a pro, not sure if they want to do college, university. And it got to a really, really good level. Like, you know, after the first couple of games in VMSL, like, the group got to a really strong kind of USL 2 standard.
Oh yeah, you were unbeaten.
Yeah, and we were flying. You know, not you know what it's like in football, not showing up with the arrogance, but just complete confidence. Like, we knew what we was doing. We was well oiled. We had talent. We ticked all the boxes in terms of, you know, we had physical power, we had pace, we had athleticism, we had the tenacity in there. We had everything that a group needs, and it was just a shame that obviously COVID put an end to all that. So you know, I think it would have been exciting times for the group last year. You know, if we could have got over to play Pacific, I think we would have given them a real game for, you know, 45, 60 minutes until obviously the fitness side of things came in. But we never got a chance to do that. So it's almost a bit of a reset for this year. Obviously a switch of divisions. The player pool is still there. What we'll lose a little bit is obviously some of the boys now would have gone off to university as well, because some of them, due to COVID, weren't able to go to the States or go complete their sort of in-person studies. So it'll be a little bit different, but there's still a very, very strong core that comes back from that group. And yeah, like, again, just talking about intensity, we created an environment that was not yet average VMSL Fraser Valley League standard and you know, commitment. So looking forward to that again. I know the boys are really hungry. They've done brilliant with Colin, and Colin's really enjoyed working over the summer. So like, they don't want to stop. They want to keep going and just roll into this next one. But I think they'll have a little break, and then we'll kind of resume pre-season. But I'm excited to take that group again.
I was disappointed that the VMSL thing, it was just the group games. I wanted to see you play BB5 because they were banging the goals in as well. I wanted to see you play UBC because like those were the matchups I was so looking forward to, and it never happened. And of course, that might have to wait now till the Provincial Cup for playing BB5. In local soccer, for anyone that doesn't know, the big thing is Fraser Valley. No team from there has won the Provincial Cup. Can Tigers be that first team? That's looking way ahead.
Yeah, I honestly think if we get the group back to where we were, and obviously that's part of my responsibility. It's part of the players' responsibility to recreate that environment. I have no doubts that they can do that. I mean, we was excited to play BB5 and UBC. Like that was the two games we really wanted to play, and we were so close to playing them before it all got cancelled. But I've played in the VMSL and the Fraser Valley League. I've seen it, and in previous years that the strength in depth was never in the Fraser Valley League. And so what was always the challenge is even the top 2 or 3 teams in there, you only really played against that top 3 or 4 teams. And then the time you got the crossover to VMSL, they'd been used to playing 7 and 8 teams that were good standards. So there was that little bit of an adjustment, but in a knockout situation, there's not a lot of time to adjust. You've got to adjust in the game. So I think the challenge for us on our side, first and foremost, is just to look after ourselves, make sure our own environment is competitive and intense as it was last year. We try and beat what's put in front of us, whatever that is. Obviously, I think the carrot of the Whitecaps games will be great. I'm looking forward to them and that's great for them too, because they'll have an abundance of talent. They'll also have the fitness of being full-time professionals, but there is a difference with, boys football and men's football. And they would have noticed that even on the weekends, there's a lot of things that you have to adjust to as a young lad playing against men. And I think
it'll be physical in Sunday's game.
And that's the way it is. And I remember even myself playing when the old residency program came into the VMSL one year. And it's the same thing. Look, we know they're top players and we know they want to play the pretty football. And I've been on that side of the fence as well. But where you can sort of get the equilibrium is, making it a physical match, playing against men. And it's great. It's great for everybody. It's great for us to play against, agile, fit players. It's great for them to play against adults. And a lot of our guys have been around. We've got a few players that have played top university,
like Connor
professional.
And Eric
Absolutely. So looking forward to those matchups, and then we'll just see from there. Hopefully we have a successful season, but there's nobody that I would be fearful of playing, especially if we get anywhere near the level that we was last year.
Yeah. Yourself and the Whitecaps are going to have the targets on your back as well. So that's everyone's going to raise their game to that. But I'm looking forward to that season. Just before we wrap up, it's obviously been a whirlwind the last 6 weeks, and you're back now. All your other stuff is starting right away. Have you had time to kind of just settle at home and realise that you're home, or have you not even had time to gather any thoughts?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I got in, it was Saturday evening here, and, the family was here to greet on my end, and I had some heavy jet lag for a couple of nights. So I was just in a daze probably until Tuesday. And then obviously I'd got some loose stuff ready for Capilano. So I just had to stay, look, I'll come in, but just kind of leave it with the staff there of just say, look, just get this week going for me. Just let me breathe a little bit. But honestly, I mean, we've had some bits this week, and then it's into it Monday. And then, week by week, each one will ramp up, so Capilano's full time. Then the Tigers will start, then the BCSPL, then end of August is the club world really resuming. So yeah, it's going to be crash bang wallet. But, at the end of the day, with COVID last year, there was significant chunks that I wasn't doing what I love doing. So I'm certainly not going to complain about working too much in football, because there's no other place I'd rather be.
That's very true. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Adam. It was a pleasure chatting to you and catching up again. Congratulations again on the gold medal, and I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Canadian women's national team gold medal winning assistant coach Adam Day. So some really good insight as to what it was like to be with the women's team over at the Olympics, what life was like in the village, the ins and outs of the games and everything like that. And I know some people might be listening to that and saying, oh, yep, typical Michael, speaking to one of the male members that's involved in the squad. Why don't you speak to one of the women's coaches? Why don't you speak to one of the players? I'll tell you now, I would absolutely love to. But Canada Soccer, being Canada Soccer, we don't get those kind of access to the women's national team players. The only ones that really get in-depth interviews with them are the Canadian press, the kind of press agencies, the big broadcast partners like One Soccer. I would love to sit and have an in-depth chat with one of the players on the team, with Bev Priestman, and I'm sure you'd really enjoy listening to that as well. So one of the things we're talking about with Adam there is what we were talking about on last week's show. Just what is the future of the domestic game on the women's side here in Canada? Can we get an NWSL team? Can we get two? Can there be a pro league set up in Canada, Canada-wide? That's exactly what we need. And as Adam said there, I mean, this is the time to do it. And it's all about investment. We've seen the growth in other countries from it. So I put that question out on last week's show and on Twitter as well, just looking for people's suggestions as to whether they think it's going to be likely or not. I've got to say, not a lot of responses. So maybe that in itself is telling as to how people are viewing club soccer here in this country. I'll read you some of the responses that we did get though. CD Pryor says, I can see the money magically appearing when the Canadian men's national team not only make it to a World Cup, but are able to win a few games. The success of the women alone won't be enough to drive investment. More stadiums might help too. Definitely agree that we need some more stadiums, some better playing facilities, and also, as Aaron talked about there, and some of the women talked about in their media rounds, you need to see these games on TV. You need to have a place to see the female players playing their club soccer. Right now, as we mentioned there, you can't even watch the NWSL in Canada without going to some weird lengths or finding it on Twitch or something like that. Angus Walker said, to me, the answer with grassroots development, men or women, is price. Have you ever given something away in Craigslist? You get no response, or those that do answer don't turn up to take it. If you charge $5, it's gone. I see VMSL games on side turfs while my son often plays under 15 matches at Percy Perry. If they closed the gate and charged $5 and put the VMSL side there, people would go, especially if it's always X o'clock on an X day. It's not about the $5, it's about creating a product. Free and random is not a product. What do you think about that? Personally, I kind of look at it the other way. We talked last week, the Whitecaps under 23 match against FC Tigers. There was a good 600 or 800 at Swangard for that. It was free admission. Would you have got that if you were even charging a token $5? I genuinely don't think so. And the last tweet we'll read for you, from Ryan Burns. He said, for me, the best and only viable beginning is 3 NWSL teams associated with the 3 Canadian MLS franchises. See if they are supported and viable as a benchmark for potential pro growth in Canada. Otherwise, I don't believe the dollars or interest is there yet, and maybe for some time yet. And sadly, I have to agree with Ryan on that. I think the way forward is, as Adam talked about there, how they've done it in England. The way forward would appear to be to build it into the infrastructure of existing clubs. Whether that's Whitecaps, TFC, Montreal, all 3 would be ideal, but that certainly seems to be the way forward. It's the way that a number of clubs have certainly grown down in the US. You've got Portland with the Timbers and the Thorns, you've got Houston Dash. It seems to be the initial way forward, and hopefully one of these clubs, if not more, will step up. Nick Bonas, the CSA president, has talked about trying to get investors in. Let's hope they can. Still looking for your views on this. We'll maybe bring out an extra podcast, if not next week, maybe the week after, with some audio as well from Christine Sinclair and Bev Priestman around that. But that is nearly it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show, but we can't go without bringing you this week's wavelength. So for this week, we're going back to 2014, and an Irish band that we've played a couple of times in recent months on the show, My Brother Woody. This is another song from their football album, Random Football Musings Set to Music. This is a song that is based on a phrase that was conjured up on the Sky Sports TV show Soccer AM, bounce back ability. And it's all about you get knocked down, you get back up again, you get back on the pitch and you get the job done. This is a song by that very name, My Brother Woody, Bounce Back Ability.
Laments availability, constant tinkering, team lacks stability, keeper's a complete liability, once known for his unflappability. Defense lacks reliability, no one taking responsibility. What we need is bounce back ability. Bounce back ability. Bounce back ability. Capability, frontmen scoring an improbability, losing an inevitability. Fans calling for accountability, to win again should be a possibility. What we need is bounce back ability. Bounce back ability. Bounce back ability. Bounce back, bounce back ability. Bounce back ability. Bounce back, bounce back ability. Bounce back, bounce back ability. Bounce back, bounce back ability.
My Brother Woody there, bounce back ability. And we'll have more from them in the future coming weeks and months, because there's some cracking songs in that album. 2014's Random Football Musings Set to Music. You can find that on Bandcamp, on YouTube, on Deezer, everywhere that you want to find your good music. But that is it for this week's show. So, Naveed, where can folk find you online, and anything you've learned from this week's show?
Yeah, well, they can find me on @machinchi on Twitter. And one thing that I learned is from Lucas Cavallini's injury is you better not do a bicycle kick after you hurt yourself.
No.
That's for sure.
Whenever we get to speak to him again,
Yeah.
that's got to be one of the first questions.
100%.
It shows
What made you
commitment.
think that was a good idea?
It shows commitment to winning.
True.
True.
I think the commentator, I think it was Blake Price, had said, that he can't turn down a bicycle kick. Sometimes you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Steve, what about you? Where can folk find you online? Did you learn anything this week?
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapSpeed, and I learned that be careful about making nicknames for players and sound it out before you do.
Yes.
If you
very,
listen,
very wise.
if this was a live show, you would have heard it.
Yes. And the outtake show will have that. And Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM. And what I learned this week is, the Whitecaps are on an unbeaten streak, and we're on a Naveed streak. So it's good. I'm enjoying having Naveed join us. Four is always better than 3.
Yeah, always good to have an ex-Whitecaps player. To be honest, if we could get Eric Castley, we'd be kicking Naveed to the curb. But we'll take him while we've got him. I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a subscribe, a like, turn on notifications on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. And what I've learned this week, primarily yesterday and tonight doing the show, is there's bits of my body that I didn't know could sweat. And I am sadly discovering that just now. So we're going to wrap up now. I'm going to get all my clothes ripped off. Not because my wife's lying down in front of me here, but because I'm very hot and I'm going to get the air conditioning on. But we will be back soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the AC and the VWFC. Bye, everyone.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story, let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
EF